Vice-Chancellor, honoured guests and students, it truly is a great honour to be standing here today, accepting this degree, for which I didn't pay any tuition fees, and talking to you all. There's something fundamental within a human psyche that finds peer recognition deeply gratifying, and I'm deeply gratified. So how did it happen? It wasn't something that I expected, it wasn't something that I strove towards. But I remember a colleague some years ago who received a knighthood telling me something similar, that he had not expected to achieve it, but he felt that it had been awarded because he'd done good things. So what does that mean? What are good things? What good things might I have done that have resulted in me standing here today? Well, I can think of a few things that might fall into that category. Perhaps intellectual achievements. As was mentioned, I did a PhD in modulation theory for mobile radio, and one of the techniques that I pioneered there is actually very much a part of receiving high data rate mobile communications that's embedded within all the devices that you use today for your wireless communication systems. Or perhaps it's political achievements. When I was at Ofcom, I was responsible for introducing new ways to manage the radio spectrum. And whilst that's founded on a basis of logic and decision-making, it requires a lot of softer skills to persuade the wide range of stakeholders that use the radio spectrum that this new approach will be one that would benefit them. So more of a politician's skills than an engineer's skills. Or perhaps it's charitable activities. I've served on the board of trustees of the Institution of Engineering and Technology, or IET, for 8 years, as was mentioned in the last year being its president, trying to help the IET engineer a better world. And that, I suspect, is perhaps the most obvious reason for me standing here, but clearly a position that you don't get to without the other pillars. I've also done some rather crazy cycling challenges, but I don't think they count in this environment. So could I distill that into any general advice to pass on to you as you look forward to your career? Well, I find it always dangerous to generalize. Everybody is different, every career is different, every time is different. But then it's very tempting to generalize, so I'm going to give it a go anyway. The first thing I would say is pursue what interests you and not be a slave to a career that is designed simply to maximize remuneration. All the studies have shown that actually beyond a relatively modest income, adding extra money to that doesn't materially change people's happiness. But having a career that they enjoy most definitely does. And I think as well, if you enjoy what you're doing, you're much more inclined to do good things, to do the right thing, because it comes naturally. I would say to listen to your heart as much as to your head. For example, charitable work is not particularly logical. It doesn't pay the bills, but it's hugely rewarding. And that reward in itself leads to other important things. And I would say network. And by networking, I don't mean Facebook and LinkedIn, fine though those are. I mean actually going out and meeting people. Meeting people at conferences, at events, at workshops, places where you actually get to meet new people and have all sorts of conversations. Because it's there that some sort of magic happens. Chance meetings, serendipity, those moments that change careers significantly by meeting somebody that you would never have come across had you simply stayed in the office and used the social media tools available to you. I think it's worth having career plans, but I can't think of any career plan that I've had that's lasted more than about 3 years, when it tends to get torn up and thrown away because circumstances change, or I change, or I realise I want to do something different. So yes, for sure, have some kind of forward plan, but keep revising it. Keep asking yourself, is it right for me? Is it the right thing? Or should I change that? But always do the right thing by your colleagues, the right thing by your companies. A career is a 40-year project. If you do things that result in short-term gains at the extent of your reputation, they'll come back to haunt you sooner or later. The world is a small place. You'll discover the same people over and over again in many different situations. Always do the right thing. And that makes you feel good too. A bit of self-publicity is no bad thing from time to time. So write a few papers, speak at a few conferences. If you get the chance, talk to some journalists. But ideally, only when you've got something to say. If you haven't, then your credibility will be undermined quite quickly in that process. And I've heard it said, although I'm not quite sure how anyone knows, that nobody on their deathbed has said that they wish they spent more time in the office. Don't defer all the good times to your retirement. And that's it. And that might seem vague and insufficient. Can that really be enough to get you standing up here 25 years from now? Well, it takes more than that, of course. It takes energy, it takes application. As we've heard, it takes constant learning. Sorry, doesn't stop after today. And as I think most people who've had successful careers would acknowledge, it takes a good dose of luck as well. But you can maximize your chances through things like networking. But perhaps, ultimately, what I've learned during my time, both as an academic and in industry, is that as humans, we have deeply ingrained needs and desires. Listen to those, reflect on them, understand what sort of person you are, what sort of person you want to be, and then go and do some good things. Thank you.